What's more important, engaging in your spiritual growth or engaging in the physical world for your growth? Intuitively, of course, we would say our spiritual growth, right? Right. But what is greater, more important, most people feel that, well, you need the spiritual so you could, engage into the world, right? You need both. Absolutely. But the truth is, most people engage who are seeking, a more divine way to live are probably more engaged in their spiritual growth than they are in the material world. Because after all, the material world can be a big obstacle. Right? It can be like quicksand that you fall prey to. And, you become an idolater, like, the god of money, the god of fame, the god of pleasure, all these goddesses, right? That the physical world will bring us down. So what should we engage in? Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We conclude today chapter 37. In this chapter, Elton Eben went to great lengths to show how the destiny of humanity is totally up to us. When God created Adam and Eve, put them in the garden, he created their environment. They blew it, so they got kicked out. Mount Sinai, God created the environment. He came down the mountain. He gave an experience that was none like it ever. But it all came from above. And therefore it didn't last. And 40 days later, the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf. Now, it's totally been my sin about it. Sin been meshach zman hagolos, and it's dependent on us to create a redeemed world, dependent on us through our divine service, through our engagement to bring that reality into this world. So we've been having a debate. What's more important? The physical acts of mitzvahs or the study of Torah, which we're engaged in right now? We gave an argument for the physical acts of mitzvahs because it engages more of the person, especially when you're doing charity. Charity, you worked hard for your money and now you give it away. And even if you didn't work hard for it, with that money you could have bought for your physical well-being, greater pleasure, greater comfort, and you give to tzedakah for charity. That engages more of the person. And therefore, the animal soul, the body, become now a dwelling place for the divine. The light of God encompasses the individual through that act of charity. But on the other hand, Torah is a greater unity with God. It's more spiritual. It engages more the inner dimension of the person. Your actual brain changes because now you have a perspective of God, the way he sees the world, rather than mere humans see the world. Because the study of Torah changes that perspective. that mind, that brain, right? It changes the actual, creates the what's it called? No, the crevices, not the crevices, no, in the brain, the creases in the brain. It changes it, literally.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right. So the last class we had, so we said the Torah is greater. Now comes back the Alter Rebbe, and he's going to play both sides, spiritual and the physical, both things, because ultimately we do need both things, right? So nevertheless, says the Alter Rebbe, our sages say, Hamaisu Yikr, the essential thing is not study, but deed, the action mitzvahs, right? That this today, Hayom Laseisam today is about doing. Just do it, as they say. Or, as we say, just do it. Do the Jewish thing, which is the act of the mitzvah. Put on your tefillin, light your Shabbos candles, eating kosher, keeping Shabbos, the act of doing it. This is the entire purpose of the individual. You were created, your soul did not come down here because your soul needs to be fixed. You know what needs to be fixed? Your animal soul, your body, because they are self-directed, self-loving. And through the mitzvah, then you bring them to a connection with God. And not only that, but the physical world too. Because through a mitzvah, you engage the physical world. And then you change the physical world, whether it's a coin of charity, whether it's the leather straps for the tefillin, whether it's the candle for lighting the Shabbos candles, whatever it is, or the food that's kosher, or the food that gives you energy that you can do the mitzvah. All of that absorbed in the light of God, which is amazing. So that's more important because you're taking darkness of the world, and this is what God wants. He wants an abode in this world. The more it's removed from God, the more God wants to dwell there. A dark place that we make space for God. Again, the divine soul is not dark, it's light. Now, that's only when the mitzvah needs to be done. But if the mitzvah could be done by someone else and you don't have to do it, I mean, you have to put on your own tefillin, you have to eat your own food, right? And people say, people sometimes say to me, hey, Rabbi, pray for me. So I say to them, okay, but I'm going to eat for you too. I'm going to eat for you too. Well, those who are overweight might say that. But when you get hungry, you're going to say, oh, Rabbi, don't eat for me anymore. I'm going to eat for myself. Oh, if that's the case, then pray for yourself too. Then pray for yourself, right? In other words, if what God wants is an abode in this world, but if the mitzvah is done, and some mitzvahs don't have to be done through you, they just need to be done in the world. So, right, an act of kindness to somebody who is down and out, and someone else did that act of kindness and not you, hey, you didn't have to do it necessarily, right? It was done is what's important. So when you don't need to do the mitzvah, again, some mitzvahs are an obligation on every individual, then what are you left with? Study of Torah. What does that mean? Because there's something about the study of Torah that's greater than a mitzvah. In the physical world, the presence of God is only going to happen through a mitzvah, because a mitzvah incorporates the physical of the world and the physicality of you, your animal, soul, and body, to do the mitzvah, right? To reach out to somebody, to help them. But study of Torah is a greater unity with God than the act of the mitzvah. It's a greater soul unity. Greater soul unity. As we explained, through the study of Torah, God's wisdom becomes my wisdom. I see the world the way God sees it. It becomes my flesh, and it becomes really a part of me. Actual change in the brain, actual change in the thoughts, the way we think and perceive. That's a greater unity. This is the idea that's explained elsewhere at length, that through the study of Torah, engagement in the Torah, we call out to God. Like a friend, like you're calling out to a friend, or you're calling out to your child, right? What does it mean when you call them? You're calling them. You're not calling, hey, kind one, come to me. Hey, smart one. No, you're calling them, the very core essence of them. When you study Torah, you're calling God. He's like your study partner. He's there. This is what we say in Ashrei every day. Karav Hashem l'kol. Karav, God is close to those who call him, which actually refers to prayer when you call God in prayer, but Chol Asher Yikru B'Emes is those who call him in truth. Well, there's only one truth. What's that? Torah is the only truth. So when you call God in truth through Torah, then you really, right, you're calling him. In other words, when you're doing a mitzvah, let me explain. When you're doing a mitzvah, what are you doing? You're fulfilling the will of God. What God wants? He wants you to transform the darkness of this world. The physical nature of this world is physicality, not spiritual, not godliness. We take the parchment of an animal, from an animal, we take a skin of an animal, make it into parchment, we make it into a Torah, which actually we're just finished learning in Maimonides, in Rambam. Today we'll learn about tzitzis. Right? You're taking physical thing and now you're making it into a vehicle for a mitzvah. So the physical thing now is the fulfillment of the will of God. I'm doing what God wants, which is amazing. Unity and oneness with God. But it's not the same kind of oneness, is that when now I study Torah and I'm calling to God, I'm uniting with him like a child calls a parent, or a child calls a father. When we study Torah, we're calling our Father in heaven to unite and become one with us. In contrast to the person who not calling God through Torah, but he calls Father, Father, Father in heaven, you're calling to God, right? And as the prophet laments, it says, you're calling to God, you're thirsty, then drink water, the waters of Torah, and then you will, that's how you have God. So dwelling on this matter, the intelligent person will derive upon themselves a great awe of God when you engage in the study of Torah. It's just powerful. So not only are you united with God, but it also brings you to a sense of great awe, which means also emotionally there's a bond that is a very deep emotion of awe, that I, a little, what am I? That through my Torah study, not only is God now his wisdom part of me, but I'm calling actually him his very core being, and it's like he's now talking to me. He is learning with me the core essence of God. Oh, that's powerful. So we have two competing things here. We have what the soul desires, connection, right? That's what the soul desires, connection. What does the body and the animal soul desire? It doesn't desire connection. It desires pleasure. It desires comfort, right? So you know what? transform that. Give the pleasure to God and the comfort to God. Use your material world for Him. So you have two things here, and both are needed. When there is the mitzvah to be done, you got to do that. Put aside your desire to connect. Put aside your desire to connect. You put that aside and you do what God needs from you to transform this world, the material world. You don't need to transform the material world because it's happening without you at this point. For example, like there's no particular mitzvah that you have to do right now. Then fulfill your soul's desire to connect to God. And that desire is of the utmost unity and oneness with God, more than there is through the mitzvah. The mitzvah, you're fulfilling what God needs from us in this world. Studying Torah, you're fulfilling the innate desire of this divine soul to be united with God, calling God through our learning that He is there before you, learning with you, teaching you. When we think about that, that's awesome. Any questions on that? Any comments?
What's greater?
They're both. We just said it depends. For the sake of the world, the mitzvah is greater. For the sake of the soul's unity, Torah study is greater.
Okay. That's the way to bring it.
Right? So they're both. Will that change when Mashiach comes and we're in the world? No. Will it change? No, no, it won't change. Any other questions? Anybody have a question? Question mark before you ask a question so I could see that you have a question.
These days. He wasn't here yesterday.
Yeah.
Is he okay?
Yeah. It was Friday night. He was here. Yeah, we're online right now. What are you asking of the Rebbe when you daven at the oil? It's the request to daven for us. Yes, you could ask someone to pray for you in addition to your prayer, not in the place of your prayer. Right? So if someone is going to the oil of the Rebbe, so you ask them to put in a good word for you, fine, but that's not replacing your own personal prayers. Right? So, for example, someone's not well, and you ask, and let's say, Yankel's not well, and he asks, he asks me, he asks you to pray for it. So, absolutely, we should. But Yankel himself needs to pray too, right? It's not. It doesn't take away the obligation that we have. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments? I don't see any others. But a fascinating understanding over here of how both. Now, what we spoke about in the physical world doing the mitzvah, just do it, right? That's doing the action without intent, without doing it for the sake of God, without doing it for the love of God. That's what we spoke about till now. Where we're going in the next 3 chapters is to add intent. So the question is, why? Why add intent? Well, I'm not going to answer that today. That will be tomorrow when you return. Right? When you return tomorrow, we can't give you everything today. What are we asking for the Rebbe when we daven the oil? It's a request. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Rambam is coming up. Akut Chodesh. It is the new month of Nisan, the month of miracles. How should we write our letter to the oil? You can do rebbe@ohelchabad.org. You can email it in. Yeah, it's doing mitzvahs is more important than study Torah. Well, I hope we just explained that. I hope that was clear. Vicky, when we get unity, are we able to do more mitzvahs? Of course. If study of Torah doesn't bring you to more mitzvahs, then the question is, did you really study Torah? Because the whole study of Torah should naturally bring us to do another mitzvah. Because if we're seeing the world the way God sees the world, perceiving it in such a manner, then of course it's going to bring us to do the will of God. Absolutely. Okay, amazing. Meant how to phrase a letter. Oh, you could just say, at least say give your Hebrew name, the daughter of your mother's Hebrew name, and just writing to request da 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 da, and so on and so forth. You can just say, "Dear Rebbe." That's good. Okay, amazing. Which, by the way, Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday is coming. Today's the 1st, the 11th of Nisan. A week this Wednesday, the Rebbe's birthday. I'll be actually going to the Ahel, God willing. And yeah. Okay, amazing. A reminder tonight, 6:30 p.m., Torah studies. Starting a new book, third book, Vayikra, Leviticus. And amazing, 8 p.m., TRC, Tanya Rabbi Community. All right, amazing. Rambam is coming up. You don't want to miss it. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, great day. A good